Hello, this is Derek again. I'm in the workshop. It's very cold. Got my heater going, my diesel heater, so I hope you can hear me over the background noise. This is a video I'm doing because I've done some work on my Triumph 5TA clutch, and it's been a bit of a nightmare to try and get it right. So I thought I'd do a little bit of a video to explain what I've done, because I think a lot of other people must be having the same problem. In fact, I know they're having the same problem because I've spoken to people on the internet about it. But this is what I found. There'll probably be other things as well, but these were my findings. There's a lot of considerations when you're doing these, when you're working on these clutches, because of the mismatching of parts. Apparently these clutches were altered so many times over the years and they've been messed about with. People swap parts, ordered new parts, got things from auto jumbles, and they don't match. And what you get is a mismatching of parts, and that's what I had. The problem started off with the clutch was very, very stiff to pull in. In fact, I couldn't pull it in. I just couldn't pull it in. It was unrideable. But strangely enough, the clutch slipped as well. When you kicked it over, the clutch was slipping. So it was a really strange thing that, although it was stiff to pull in, it was slipping. So I stripped all the clutch down, and the clutch was perfect. It was all new. All the clutch inside is all looks like brand new. And I know for a fact that this engine's had a lot of money spent on it. And all the clutch drums, the primary chain, the clutch plates had all been replaced. In fact, the engine's been stripped down 4 times for burning. Well, they thought it was burning oil, it wasn't, and that was a different issue. So what you've got is a lot of mismatching of parts. The main parts that I found were mismatched on this one was the spring cups on the springs, and things like the push rod and this adjuster bolt. So first of all, I had this really strong clutch action. Now, another consideration is with the clutch action is the lever. Somebody mentioned this straight off. Have you checked the distance between the fulcrum and where the cable enters there? Because there's 2 different sizes of the levers. You can get a 7/8 and you can get an inch. I know only 1/8 of an inch. It makes a huge difference. If you've got a 1-inch pull there, it makes a big difference. If you put a 7/8 on, it's a lot better. But that wasn't the fault on this one. It makes it a lot better, but that wasn't the fault. And then people say, well, clutch cables. It was a new clutch cable, the routing was good, it wasn't fouling, and it was nice and free. So it wasn't the clutch cable. So first of all, I found, after doing a lot of messing around with it, I figured out that this clutch cup here, with all the spring cup, which is this one, on mine it was too short. But when the spring was inside, when you pull the clutch in, it compresses that spring, and the spring was becoming coil bound. That was the first impression I got. The spring was becoming, this spring here was becoming coil bound. And the only way you can do that is put deeper spring cups in. So I spoke to a bloke on the phone, and he said, yeah, there's several there's at least 2 different ones, and he said I needed the longer spring cup. So I ordered 4 spring cups. This is a 4-spring clutch, by the way. There's 4 spring clutches and 3 spring clutches, and they've been changed that many times. The parts don't interchange. So I got 4 new spring cups that were longer. Of course, I put my short springs in, and now they don't do anything. The springs are, I can't tighten it up. So I now need 4 longer springs. So I get 4 longer springs and I put the longer springs in, and I have a hell of a job to get this nut to go onto this the screw at the back. I've got to push it in with a big screwdriver to get it started. So much so that the clutch action became stiff again, and I only had a couple of threads here. There's only a couple of threads there into this bolt, and it wasn't enough. If I screwed this any farther in, this action became too stiff. I couldn't pull it. So it was obvious that it was far too slack. Well, with the short springs in, it just wasn't doing anything. With the long spring in, it was too tight. So somewhere I need somewhere in the middle. So I made 2 spaces up to fit over the adjusting nuts, and these were about 1/8 of an inch thick, and I just slipped them over the nut, and that was effectively making the short spring a little bit longer. So I put them on, and straight away it was a lot better. I've now got a nice clutch action on the lever, even with a 7/8 lever. Right, I had a really nice clutch action with the 7/8 lever, and even with the 1 inch centered lever, which gives you more pull, that is quite okay with that as well. So putting this spacer on here alleviated all that problem. So when I put it all back together, and the clutch was still not quite right, and I found that here there's a little pin, and that pin had seized up. So when this cable was pulling against that bottom, this arm here, this arm starts in that position and goes to that position. The pin wasn't rotating, so it was trying to bend the cable. So that was another fault I had. So I put all the clutch back together, and I started adjusting the clutch on this adjustment here, and I found that the nut was right on the end. I couldn't get the nut, the jam nut on here. When I put the jam nut on, it was only just on, right at the very end. If I then screwed this adjuster nut out, it makes the cable up here slack, so you take the adjustment up there then. The problem was, as soon as I backed this adjuster nut out of here, it altered that handle of this arm, and it has to start in that position and end in that position, because when you pull the clutch in, this helical cam here turns. This is that looking on and on, and when you pull the clutch in, it pulls that arm up. This helical cam turns and pushes the push rod against this adjuster nut and pushes your clutch off. So if I undo this so I can get the nut on the back, a full nut on there, I've now got to adjust the cable so this comes farther up to take this gap up that I put in there, or you get a longer clutch rod. So that's another anomaly. I don't know how many different ones there is of these, but as soon as I started to back this off so I could get the nut on, it went tight again, because it was altering the handle of that lever. So what I had to do was I lengthened the length of this adjuster nut, so that came back so I could get the nut on the back and get a full nut on there to lock it in position. Now I could have got a longer push rod, but what I'm getting at is you've got all these anomalies, and if everything's not absolutely bang on, it ruins the clutch action. This is brilliant. I couldn't select neutral before. I can select neutral. It's easy on the lever, and it's just completely transforms the bike. So what you've got is all these anomalies. You've got different springs here. You've got long springs, short springs, long cups, short cups. I've had to put a spacer on there because I couldn't. Neither the combination of cups or springs would work. And then I don't know if there's different lengths of push rods, but you could get them. But what I'm getting at is that over the years, these things have been messed around that many times. You have to just do what you have to do to get it working. So you have to start off with that arm in that position. The problem is when you put this casing, this isn't a casing inside here. When you put it on, you can't see it. So you put your end casing on with your cable connected. When it's on, you can't see where this arm is. It was only by screwing that in, it obviously pushes this arm back. Only when I screwed that out, I realised what was happening at this end. So you've got that's a problem. You can have a problem here with this pin being seized up. You can have a problem with either of your springs, or either your cups, or the length of your push rod. So it really is a kind of suck it and see. Doesn't appear to be any hard and fast rule. I suppose if you had all brand new original equipment for this engine serial number, it would work. But these things have been messed and changed around over the years so many times. You just have to do what you have to do. And now, let's show you this here. This has got the longer